Hi, this is Captain Andrew from Sailors Delight Back Bay Fishing of Wildwood, New Jersey. And I'm welcoming you to one of our segments called Fish Stories, where I give everybody a lowdown and entertaining breakdown of my life's experiences in both the fishing and merchant marine world. Now, some of the names and locations have been changed for privacy reasons, but I assure you that everything I'm about to tell you is the truth as I saw it. So for this edition of Fish Stories, I'm going to address something that everybody always asks. Everybody wants to know, what was the best fishing you ever saw? It's a topic that comes up on party boats all the time, so since we're coming up to the 4th of July weekend, it just seemed smart that this would be a story to share, because this happened on a 4th of July weekend back in the late 90s. I was working on a party boat. There were 4 other mates. Yeah, that gives you an idea of how big of a crowd we were expecting with the 4th of July weekend, that we had a 79-foot long fishing boat that could hold 90 people, and we had 5 mates working the deck. That'll give you an idea of how shoulder-to-shoulder crowded factory fishing this was going to be. So, when you have a crew that size on the boat, it's not going to be great fishing because there's going to be a lot of tangles. You're almost inevitably going to have a lot of novice fishermen. It's not going to be a good trip. It's going to be a trip you're going to work your brains out. But we accepted it. We knew it. It wasn't going to be a surprise. The only thing we had going for us was we had beautiful weather. Flat, calm, barely any breeze, and the tide was just lining up where we were going to have an ebb tide, dead slack in the middle of the trip. So we knew the lines weren't going to do anything crazy. The fishing lines for the most of the trip were going to be straight up and down, and after that it was just mitigating what kind of disaster the customers could create. So 4th of July weekend, boat's supposed to leave at 8 o'clock. We leave at 7:15 because it's that full, that early. We have our 90 customers on board the boat, and we're going out fishing. Now, since that trip was making the boat money, the captain actually used the throttles, and we went all the way out to the outer edges of the Wildwood Reef. So myself, the 4 other mates, we all get everybody baited up. We're doing the normal spiel where we're walking around making sure everybody knows how to use their rods, and we're actually kind of surprised how well the customers are acting and how eager they are to listen. So we're just trying to do our best to make sure we avoid a catastrophe. Well, we weren't expecting what happened. So an hour after we leave the dock, the captain brings the boat to a stop, and he tells everybody that they could drop their lines down. And when I say instant action, the word instant action doesn't even apply. It was hit the bottom and yank. Now, we were using a high-low with an 8-ounce sinker in 40 foot of water, which means it was half a pound of lead and 2 hooks, each baited up with a piece of squid. And every single one of the customers on that boat started pitching croakers, 2 fish at a time. Now, I'm not talking small 6-inch Atlantic croaker. I'm talking 12 to 14-inch long croaker. I mean, nice sized croakers. And there was some decent, what we used to call Cadillac croakers, big croakers up to like 15, 16, 17 inches. Real big, beautiful fish. I mean, this was literally hit the bottom and yank fishing as hard and as fast and as quick as you could. And the fish were swarming in a school right below us. Which sounds great, except for you realize now you got 90 people, all of them fishing with 2 hooks, and everybody's catching fish, and suddenly you realize that every couple minutes you're pulling another 100, 120, 180 fish every couple minutes, and it's starting to accumulate. So we fill every bucket. We fill every fish bag we have. We start throwing fish back because customers have suddenly realized that they've caught more fish than they want to take, so they're giving them away or they're throwing them back. And then you got guys that had come on and they want to fill their freezers, so they're keeping fish. And it really started to get to bedlam. It didn't matter what you put on the hook. They were biting on the bare gold shiny hook. So we weren't even having to rebait the customers. They were just dropping the line down. Now, that sounds great. Everybody's going to love that. And we loved it. It was great. It was pandemonium. We loved it. The
tangles were at a minimum. You had a few people that would backlash their line because they didn't know how to keep their thumb on the spool or anything, but essentially it was just pure catching. It wasn't even fishing, it was just pure catching. But then, like I said, we realized that we kind of had a problem where we were now having piles of fish laying on the deck, and we realized, okay, look at that, now there's 5 of us here. So my best friend, I worked with him on and off for 10-15 years. Him and one of the other mates, I've referred to him in the past as one of the brothers, they go back and they start filleting, and they start filleting early. It's a 4-hour long trip. They start filleting at like 9:45 in the morning. And for the lack of argument, they're going to be filleting in this story until we hit the dock. And then they're going to be filleting for an hour after that. So anyway, they start cleaning fish. And now there's 3 of us on deck. And that's 3 mates for 90 people, which, it could be a little daunting, but it's not bad. And we're still catching, and we're still throwing fish back, and we still have people keeping. So we're still catching fish. The captain made an attempt to move from the spot just to sort of give us relief, but the next piece of coral, and we just sort of sat there like we were anchored, and the fish were on top of that as well. I mean, it was amazing. Never seen anything like that in my life since. I've seen some trips come close, but nothing quite like that. So we now get to about the 10 o'clock, 10:30, and we know that in the next half hour or so, the captain's going to pull the plug and we're going to start going back to the dock. So now it switches to 3 of the 5 mates are on the back cutting board table, and they're filleting back there now. And so as they're filleting, they're emptying buckets of fish, and then they're just refilling the buckets. The next thing you know, my best friend, he decides, hold on, something's not right. So he empties the trash can, takes the trash bag out, empties the trash can, and he starts dumping all the carcasses into that 55-gallon trash can. So now we keep filleting, and now the trip ends. Mercifully, 11 o'clock, captain gets on the PA system and tells everybody, all right, folks, wind them up. We're going to get started for the barn. So now we have 90 fishing rods we need to put away, but there's 2 mates, myself and somebody else who will remain anonymous because he's kind of fallen out. So we get all the fishing rods put away. We're not even back at the dock yet. We have all 90 fishing rods put away. I go back, and now there are 4 of us, myself included, filleting fish. You got 2 mates cutting the fish, and you got 2 mates skinning. And the 5th mate, the one who we had falling out with, he's, going around trying to clean up some of the blood off the deck and doing the other various mate stuff, talking to the customers, cleaning up, trying to get the boat ready for the next trip. So we're still filleting. So now we have a good hour ride back, of which you've got 4 people filleting fish, 2 of which have been filleting for almost 2.5 hours. We get back to the dock, we tie the boat to the dock, and they continue filleting, 2 of us at the dock filleting to get the rest of the customers done. Now, the trips went 8 to 12, 1 to 5. So at 1 o'clock, the boat had to go back out. So we designated one of the other mates, the mate who we had eventually had a falling out with. He stayed back at the dock while the rest of us went out and fished again for the next trip. And he sat there for 3 hours. He finished filleting fish, 2 hours. He finished filleting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you do the math, you've got about 7 man hours worth of filleting. Now, we lost track. We lost track trying very hard to keep count at around 2,000 croakers. But that number was conservative, and that didn't count how many we kept, how many we threw back, how many people walked off whole, who took what off their hook when we weren't paying attention. It was a glorious pandemonium. So that's the best fishing I've ever seen. And it happened on Independence Day weekend. And since this is Independence Day weekend coming up, I want to take the moment to say happy 4th of July to all of my loyal subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit the button and subscribe to help the station grow. I hope you all enjoyed the story as much as I enjoyed telling it.